It seems that it goes unnoticed, the amount of poverty that is in America. Unbeknownst to me, I was unaware of how vast the amount of people are impoverished in America.
Poverty is more than just about money.
Sudden tragedy is what threw us into poverty out of nowhere. We went from being your typical normal family to, oh my God, where are we going to live?
There are so many stereotypes of people in poverty.
The NORWESCAP College Circles model has basically 4 initiatives. First and most importantly is it's designed to enable under-resourced students to finish school. Unfortunately, students who come from poverty rarely get the opportunity to complete their college education. And if they start college, they more often than not end up dropping out. This is often because they don't have the type of support systems that are necessary in order to enable them to go to school. So the most important factor here is indeed to help students continue on in their college education. We also develop a learning community where resource students as well as under-resourced students come together to study the causes and effects of poverty, the complications of poverty, and together to realize that by building social capital, relationships across class lines, by understanding the differences in social class upbringings, how we position ourselves differently in society relative to where we were born or who our parents are, that these all have causal links to where we end up as we become adults and as we continue on with our own particular careers and raise our own children.
The system seems to be more involved in handouts than really hand up. And when people do get to that point where they're about ready to get out of poverty, it seems like they get punished and they lose all their assistance, where if they had a little bit more to just push them through, they would probably make it. Maybe they'd have a little extra money to maybe invest or at least get some kind of training so that they could go from the slightly above minimum wage into a real job that's a real living wage. And it doesn't seem to happen. It just seems like the door closes in their face.
We also learned that by building a village and working together, and bringing the entire community into a process, that we're more likely to be able to move people out of poverty than if they are just left alone to live in their own neighborhoods where perhaps everyone's like I am. If I am living with people who are in poverty and know no one else, that becomes the norm. So to understand the various ways in which we interface in society and our ability to share resources and particularly work together across class lines to build bridges is pretty much what this program does.
Her crises hit all areas: emotional, mental, her family situation, people she knew that would bring her down rather than build her up. It went across all areas of life, not just the money.
The way people think about our country somewhat mimics our foreign policy. We tend to have our noses in every other country thinking, we need to give a helping hand to every other country, but we do need a lot of help in our country dealing with poverty. And that, the way that it's going to start as far as helping people is getting the knowledge, understanding the topic of poverty in America, and then we can take it from there as far as dealing with ways to fix it.
So we begin with a class, and that class can be entitled different things. We like to consider it to be a 3-credit class that transfers. We bring under-resourced students and resource students together to study in this class, and the students themselves find the class to be extremely rewarding.
I was interested in this course because I had first-hand experience with third world poverty when I did a 5-month mission trip in Africa, and that's where I want to head into third world medicine. And so I was really interested in how to get a better understanding of poverty, and because that's where ultimately my field I want to go into. So it's been a great ride.
Being unemployed, I'm kind of on the verge of poverty myself, so it's actually been a very beneficial course. And I hope to learn more before it's over.
What I'm taking away from this class is how to help myself. Definitely. This class was one of the first and only classes that was really personal. All the other classes are very impersonal, stats and figures and everything. This was the first class that asked me to make a 5-year plan.
I saw a little poster up on well, at the guidance office, and I saw responses as to how the class was from other students in the previous class, and all the responses were, positive.
This class definitely reflects just the society that we live in general. It's just such a slew of people from different backgrounds, from different socioeconomic situations, and with that, I feel like we really get all different perspectives of poverty, of everyone's socioeconomic situation. And what I like most about this class is it addresses the biases.
Because the way the course is set up, it has a lot of emotional ties to it. You watch a lot of videos dealing with personal stories, and there's an identifiable aspect to it, to the point where you could relate to it. You could bring up someone that you might know, or you might be able to relate it to something that happened in your own life. And because of that, it's easy to learn about the subject. It's not something that you're just reading through a book, and the class isn't set up as, it's not just, the class isn't just a projection of the textbook. It deals with everything in the textbook, but as well as there's things to relate it to, just contemporary topics dealing with everything that's going on in our country right now. And because of that, it's very easily obtainable in your mind and easy to just learn the entire subject.
This class is just the best class I've ever taken, as far as being honest about the system and showing you that this is, you're not the only one, and there are ways to get out of it, and there are avenues to explore as far as helping yourself, and there are people out there that want to genuinely help you and help you help yourself. It's the first class that I've taken that you're not just in it for a grade. You're really walking away learning about life, real life.
I've gotten to take this class last semester, and this semester I get to help out with it, interning and helping everyone with their issues and homework and all that sort of stuff. I got to see kind of a slightly different perspective of it. I definitely am a huge proponent of having mixed incomes, mixed socioeconomic, ethnic, racial backgrounds in this class. It's amazing to see how diverse someplace like Sussex County is, and how easy it is to not notice issues that are going on, and to be able to conglomerate and put together all of our heads and try to solve something for an individual, or maybe to help come up with ideas to help our community in general. The class really needs to be more than just under-resourced students, because there's no way to ally and bridge if we don't provide an environment where both those who are under-resourced and those who aren't, and those who are on the bridge of being under-resourced, can come together and really learn from each other and take away from the experience more than just a class, but a real community effort.
In addition, and kind of the second tier of the program, is to bring faculty and administrators together to go through some similar training that the students have had, to enable the campus, the entire campus, to understand better the dynamics that folks who live in poverty face on a day-to-day basis. It makes it much easier for counselors and faculty to relate to their students' needs.
I'm first generation, low income. I got my GED, so I wasn't the traditional graduated with honors, can go to any school. And the one thing that I knew is that when I began to work with the student, not a lot of them knew where they were from. And what I mean by that is understood the dynamics of the community that they come from. So when I first began to hear about the course, I was really excited about the possibility, for one, for them to be truly educated about where they're from, so that they would know truly where they're going. The only way, I know for me, the only way to get out of my situation was to fully understand that coming from where people determined nothing didn't mean anything if I didn't let it mean anything. And I think this course is the beginning of helping our students understand that.
That's what I like about the course, is that it's really empowerment. It's empowerment for the students who are going to take the course, who are currently affected by poverty or have been in their past, and maybe, have a sense of shame or guilt or something, attached to that. It will hopefully, positively impact other students who view people who are poor as other and it's their own faults, and they'll get a real first-hand sense of real people with real issues and life circumstances that are sometimes hard to imagine. But once you hear them, you understand how they ended up in that circumstance. And so I think it'll be, encouraging to those students to have a perspective that, I'm doing what I can, there are more things I can do, but there's a lot of obstacles out there that have been set against me that I might not have realized in the structure of poverty. And then, on the other side, students who are interested and concerned about people affected by poverty will learn what they can do about it. That even as a student, there's some organizations on campus that deal with social justice and poverty issues. What I like about this course, and what I've often thought we miss, is that we don't address poverty in our own local community.
So I'm excited about the course itself, starting here at Raritan and continuing, and that in itself will have its own momentum as the course expands. There may be more than one section, a whole lot of interesting things can happen there. But at the end of each class, I think what's sort of unknown territory but very exciting is how students who want it and need it will be interested in being supported, mentored, being put together with a group of allies who may meet them and support them for a year or more after the course itself.
And lastly, we want to build a community bridge, which is to really link with the community and bring community leadership together to change the dynamics of our particular locations, our particular communities in such a way that we rebuild the village. For example, if we don't have enough housing for under-resourced individuals, one could probably guess that the ability to rise out of poverty isn't going to occur. Or if you're wishing to go to school and you do not have childcare or transportation, the likelihood of you being able to show up at your class with less than 3 absences is probably not going to happen for you either. So we begin to understand that it's much more of a unified front in building those links.